My life's a story before me, and I'll try and find a way to be free finally. I'll reach the new world. The game has only just begun. I can see it in your eyes. This is where tomorrow brings a new game. It's time to learn the pain is gain. Ready, fight!
Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy Bowser Jr. Fan 13, and welcome to part 3 of Marvel vs. Capcom 4 discussions. Alright, so we've got a few things to talk about today, and it's going to get a little more interesting as we go through this. So let's get started. So our next topic is the stages. Marvel vs. Capcom has a wide variety of stages throughout the years, and they were all pretty unique and interesting, and pretty amazing as well. Though there were a few questionable stages in some of these games. In fact, Marvel vs. Capcom's 2 stages, some of them being a little strange, but regardless, they weren't really Marvel or Capcom themed stages, but they were still fun to play through though. Anyways, for this game, we have to keep this Marvel and Capcom based, because when it comes to the locations to where the heroes and villains will be fighting each other from both franchises and both companies, we need to keep to the source material. So, now I know what you're also going to be saying. How many stages are we going with? Are we going with 50? No, 40? Or something like that? No, we're going to be a little decent with the stage pickings. So, I decided to go with 24 stages, or 25 if you count the training stage. But no, it's just 24 stages, 12 from Marvel and 12 from Capcom. So we're not gonna just do rehashed or returning stages. A few of the stages will be returning stages, but some of them will be in different variations. But we want to keep some brand new stages to keep the audience who haven't played this game interested into this game. Alright, so let's get started with the stages. Now, before I go into details on what stages we're going to be going through, there were a few things that I want to point out. There's this one YouTuber who I was watching called Thoroughgi Arcade. When he did his Marvel vs. Capcom 4 video, I was honestly impressed, and I honestly loved his ideas that he was going with into his video, and some of these ideas are inspired off of his. So go subscribe to his channel. He's a real genius. Anyways, he came up with this cool idea called act breaks, basically where the stages in the background from time to time will start doing these crazy, funny, cool looking presentation cutscenes while the fight is going on. And it's pretty amazing. And of course you have the option to turn them off if they're too distracting, especially for competitive players. So I decided to keep this type of idea, but some of the stages are going to be a little different, or just going to be, well, I'll just go ahead and explain as much as I can as we go through the list. But I haven't even talked about the stages or what type of stages we'll be going through yet. Alright, but anyways, let's just get started. Okay, let's start with the Marvel stages. Alright, so the first Marvel stage that I chose was Asgard. I mean, it's quite obvious that Asgard has to be in here. Now, this is going to be a completely different one. We're not going to use Asgard from MVC3, and we're definitely not using the one from Infinite. In Asgard, we're going to be fighting on the Rainbow Bridge, basically leading up to Asgard. And the act breaks, Thoroughgi Arcade has already been through this, so there's not much details I have to leave in, so yeah. Next up is Avengers Tower, and I think he's already been through this as well, so we already know Avengers Tower has to be in this, because it is Marvel after all. The Baxter Building. Now this one is a pretty neat choice because I've never really thought about it. Having a Fantastic Four themed stage is pure genius. I mean, since it is called Marvel vs. Capcom 4, and we're bringing back the Fantastic Four, it does honestly make quite sense. And no, all of those puns that I made with number 4, they were completely not intentional at all. The Latverian throne room. I love Doctor Doom. He's one of my favorite Marvel villains of all time. In fact, he's my most favorite one. And having his own stage just makes it even cool. And wow, I just love to see the fight go on in the Latverian throne room. It's just so amazing. The act breaks were even cool, like having Shadaloo join in and all this crazy stuff. Like, it's explained in the guy's video, as I said before. You'll basically understand. The Sanctum Sanctorium. Come to think of it, I don't think we've ever gotten a Doctor Strange themed stage, or any stage having to do with Doctor Strange. So having the Sanctum Sanctorium, it would be a really nice setup, especially for like the story mode and stuff. And of course we had to throw in a Black Panther stage, so Wakanda obviously made sense. And having the fight on the waterfall scene from the movie is just pretty awesome. Now I know some of you are going to be like, well, I want to do the comic book stuff. Like, I pretty much prefer the stuff from the comics and not the movies. I know many of you prefer the comics over movies because of the MCU screwing up MVC Infinite and stuff, but it's not bad to have like a few references from the movies every now and then. Like, I'm not saying like everything should be from the movie. Like, it's still comic books regardless. The Xavier Mansion. Now, I don't know anything about this stage, but apparently it's a school that takes place in the X-Men universe. And, you know, this is honestly a pretty neat idea because, like, this whole crossover started with the X-Men and with, like, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, yet we've never really gotten an actual X-Men stage, which is kind of strange. And yes, you could say we did got the Day of Future Cities stage, but that was basically reskinned from New Metro City. And you could say we got the Danger Room, but that was just the training room. So this would obviously be an exception, and it would be the first X-Men stage that we ever gotten in this game. We're gonna bring back one of the stages from previous games. We're bringing back the S.H.I.E.L.D. heliport from MVC3. I didn't really know what other stages to put in after this, so I'm gonna have to work with what I got. So let's bring back the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters or base, whatever it's called, because obviously S.H.I.E.L.D.'s gotta be involved with this. Downtown New York City. Now, this may be a questionable one. New York City, it's just a city stage. Well, yeah, and it's just New York City, but that's where all the Marvel heroes usually fight there the most. I mean, it's not that complicated, to be honest, and to be fair, I think New York City, even though it's a little bland to choose for a stage, I think it's still rather a neat choice. Now, I'm not sure what kind of, I didn't talk about the act breaks in the stages, but I really didn't think of any act breaks from any of the stuff, so, yeah, sorry about that. AIM Secret Laboratory. Now, this one obviously makes sense because since MODOK was previously playable in the third game, and he did appear in the fourth game as a background character, and somewhat to do in the story. I don't know, he didn't really do much in the story. I mean, it would be nice for him to get his own stage for once. I mean, he'll probably just be in the background, or he won't if you choose him as an assist character. So, yeah, there's that. The Milano, how do you say that? Sorry. Anyway, it's gonna take place in the ship where the Guardians of the Galaxy hangs out. Alright, it's gonna be pretty simple. You're gonna have all the Guardians there, Star-Lord probably listening to his music, Gamora, I don't know what she's gonna do. She's probably just gonna relax or something. The Antenna Girl's just gonna probably just be talking with Drax and stuff. Rocket and Groot will be sitting down playing chess, and everyone's just flying through the galaxy. Oh, I got an idea for an act break. How about like maybe the ship starts shaking and the Guardian starts noticing that something is outside, and then they see that probably it's, I don't know, maybe a space level threat from one of the Capcom games. Not sure which one to go with, but we'll basically work things out for something, I don't know. And this one is also weird, but I can't help it. I feel like we definitely need this one. This one is going to be the battlefield from Endgame. Yeah, we're bringing in the crazy rusty battlefield from Avengers Endgame. I mean, I know many of you may be wondering why exactly, because Endgame was a good movie, to be honest. And for the act breaks, like maybe in like a few seconds as the game is kicking in, we could have the characters fighting Thanos and his army over the Infinity Stones, just like in the movie. And then as the stuff is like proceeding on, you're having Iron Man and Thanos fighting over the Infinity Stones. And then let's see, as the stage is about to end, like we'll have Thanos try to erase everyone out of existence, but he can't. But then Iron Man ends up undoing all of Thanos' stuff, erasing him and all of his armies out of existence, but he also gets erased as shown in the movie. Okay, that was a big spoiler. I do apologize for anyone who hasn't watched Endgame. Please forgive me, and I am terribly, terribly sorry. Okay, so that was all of the Marvel stages. Now let's go into the Capcom stages. The first Capcom stage that I want to talk about is the World Tournament stage from Street Fighter. Now, there were many Street Fighter stages to choose from, and I think the World Tournament goes well. Mainly because I don't want to favor any of the characters and like basically just choosing their own classic stage or any of these generic stages that we had in other Street Fighter games. I think the World Tournament like suits this game well. Dr. Wily's Gear Fortress. So I wanted to do the classic Mega Man series for this game because, well, since Mega Man 11 was recently released, we should have something themed over that. Like, so the stage will basically be all the robots just walking around. Maybe some of them are in the background cheering and watching your fight. And then in the way background, like we could see, like maybe we could have a big window showing Dr. Wily building his Wily machine. And as he's done building it, Captain America or maybe some of the other Marvel heroes would jump in and basically help each other defeat Dr. Wily, but he's too tricky to defeat, and he's got all these crazy attacks and stuff. And just when they think that they can't handle it, all of a sudden they hear. And then Proto Man shows up to help the heroes defeat Dr. Wily. So after all that, Proto Man takes Dr. Wily to jail, and the heroes, they celebrate and they leave the stage. Devil May Cry Headquarters. Yeah, I think this one would definitely do since we haven't really gotten the Devil May Cry stage. I'm not really explaining the act breaks in some of these stages because Tsurugi Arcade basically already explained the act breaks in these stages, or probably he probably didn't choose some of these stages, and I don't want to go through explaining the act breaks because I really don't care and I just want to get this video over with. Astera from Monster Hunter. I think this is a pretty amazing choice. Like, the act break was pretty amazing, and I think the choice for like this stage would definitely suit Monster Hunter really well. Okay, so this one is a weird one, but I believe that it is pretty cool. The Courtroom from Ace Attorney. I've looked at the act break from this, and wow, it's just so amazing. And there were some pretty cool ideas that Tsurugi just came up with. Like, whenever, like, if you pick Phoenix Wright as a playable character, even though he will be in the stage, he just won't be there. He'll probably be replaced with Apollo Justice. And that could be the same thing for Miles if he was a playable character. Like, if he was a playable character, then he'd just be replaced with the other Prosecutioners from the other Ace Attorney games. Or the act break would just be turned off. Like, I know it sounds all complicated and all, but it's just pretty simple and easy. Like, for example, like if you remember back in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, if you select Cadillac's Island, you notice that Tron Bonne is in the background with her family as she's watching the fight. But if you pick her as a fighter, she just won't be in the stage. Again, that easy. Okay, so I'm bringing back this stage from a previous game, Ruby Heart's Airship from MVC2. Alright, this one had to be an obvious choice. Since I brought back Ruby Heart, I had to give her her own stage, as usual. The only changes that I'm going to make to it is that, basically add some of her crewmates, or pirates, or buccaneers, like, all those pirates that she has, like, on her crew, like, to make things a little more interesting. Or even add some of the characters from that forgotten Japanese game that she was featured in for mobile devices. And I am not joking when I say this is an official thing. Amango's Desert, also returning from MVC2. Of course, since Ruby Heart's getting her own stage, Amango had to get his own stage since he's also returning as well. I guess to make the stage a little more interesting, you could, like, add more of Amango's cactus people, like, you know, so we could get, like, a glimpse and look at, Amango's different species of cactus people, like, all these different variants of them, like, because Amango is a pretty interesting character with a mysterious backstory. I'd love to see, like, what they do with this. Metro City. Yeah, of course, since Final Fight was, in this series, we had to give it some love, so we're bringing back Metro City. It's gonna be different from, New York City, obviously, and, I've already Thorogi already discussed the act break with this stage, and if you haven't been paying attention to all these act breaks or what I've been talking about throughout this whole video, please, I recommend you go watch the video so that you understand what I'm saying. Now this one is going to be a brand new one. It's the Village from Resident Evil Village. It's quite obvious because, I mean, I put Lady Dimitrescu as a playable character, so yeah. But many of you have been saying, like, why not Castle Dimitrescu, or the battlefield where you fight Mother Miranda at the end of the game? Well, those are good ideas, but I wanted to go with the Village instead. So the act break could start out with Ethan Winters roaming around the cold village that's empty and stuff, and he's trying to look for his daughter Rose as usual. But unfortunately, he is confronted by the Lords Heisenberg, Moreau, and Donna, and they of course try to gain up on him with a bunch of Lankan armies, but Ethan puts a smile on his face, acting like he's not scared, because he's actually called upon a few friends. So he snaps his finger in the air and he summons 3 of the monsters from the Marvel comics, Morbus, Man-Thing, and Werewolf by Night. So the monsters start fighting the Lankans and the Lords, causing all this chaos. Ethan tries to fight back, but he's sometimes a little distracted by the fight that's going on, which of course is the one that you're partaking in. But then a few minutes later, a helicopter starts flying into the background and then starts scaring off all the Lankans and stuff. The Lords see that it's Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Claire, and all the other Resident Evil heroes that we know. They're here to rescue Ethan. So the Lords think, oh, this is not worth our time, let's get out of here, and they run away. So as they come down and see that Ethan's with the monsters, they're all confused because the monsters and Ethan are now watching the fight, and Ethan tells them, hey, what's up guys, come on, join in. Chris, looking all confused as heck, is all like, okay, and just joins in to watch the rest of the fight. I mean, come on. If you were to see characters like Chris Redfield and Ethan Winters hanging out with monsters like Man-Thing, that's just gotta be the most weirdest yet funniest thing you have ever seen. Nanai from Breath of Fire. I couldn't come up with anything from this because, well, I don't play Breath of Fire, but you could have some Breath of Fire character cameos and stuff, and that's pretty much all I gotta say about this one. London from Power Stone. I don't have anything to say about this one either, so yeah, moving on. Okay, and this one stage that I saved for last. This is the stage that I've actually made by myself. This is not a reference to like any other games or whatnot, because I've actually made this stage legit, and this is actually going to help represent Darkstalkers. So ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my own original stage called Club Darkstalkers. So what is Club Darkstalkers? Well, in this stage, it's basically your typical nightclub, except with all the Darkstalkers characters are going to be there. And you know, we're going to have all the characters: Morgan, Felicia, John Talbane, Pyron, Ryuko, BB Hood, all the other characters. Donovan won't be in this one because, well, you'll just have to wait and see. But anyways, we'll have all the characters just doing their own thing, hanging out in the club. Morgan and Felicia will probably be dancing. John Talbane and Ryuko will be playing pool, and we'll have all the other Darkstalkers characters here too. Like we could have, like, you know, Victor, Lilith, Huitzel, Queen Bee, Bishamon, Anarchias, Sasasquatch, and Dimitri all sitting down at the tables or counters, eating their food and drinking their drinks while they're watching your fight. The fight, of course, is gonna take place on this little space that you see right here. That's the arena for the stage. Anyways, there's also going to be characters working here as well. Pyron will be the chef. As you can see, the chef hat will be on his head as he's peeking out of the door, watching your fight. Jetta will be the club bouncer, which I think would be very suitable for him. Cienko will be the bartender. Marionette will be the waitress. And of course, this role is pretty obvious, and I think it's the perfect role for this one. Lord Raptor is going to be playing live music for everyone. I mean, if that's not a genius idea, then I don't know what is. For the stage's act break, we could have BB Hood trying to get into the club, but Jetta won't allow her because she's too underage. Of course, this makes BB Hood angry, so she decides to come up with a plan to get in. Meanwhile, Jetta decides to lock things up because he needs to take a break, so he runs quick to the bathroom and, yeah, leaves everyone to their thing. Meanwhile, while nobody is looking, BB Hood sneaks into the club with a few other Marvel villains like Rhino, Kingpin, Claw, Killmonger, and Bullseye. So, as they're being extremely sneaky and stealthy while nobody is looking, they try to grab some booze from the bar, only for Cienko to realize and find out that BB Hood snuck in. So then they turn this into a full-on robbery. All the Marvel villains and BB Hood pull out their weapons and start threatening everyone, and chaos starts to spread. So Morgan and the other Darkstalkers decide to fight the villains and put them to justice and stuff. And then once everything is settled down, BB Hood surrenders, Jetta comes back from his break, and then everyone just goes back to doing their own thing. Meanwhile, as Jetta carries BB Hood to the door, and the Marvel villains walk away knowing that it's pointless, they can't be here anyways. So when the KO screen hits, Jetta will throw BB Hood out of the door and say, "And don't come back." It'll be really funny, believe me. Okay, and that's all I have to say about the stages. Now we'll be moving on to the next segment of the video.